again to our show that is called Real Shame. It's a show where we, us two guys, watch movies from our movie list shames or movie blind spots. Basically, movies that we haven't seen that we're fixing and watching and telling you all about it. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
Andy's chose early in the week. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yes.
Andy's chosen two movies this week, movies that I've never seen. Early in the week, we talked about a famous movie that's about Depression, Great Depression era America. It's based off a novel called Grapes of Wrath. Andy decided to pair it with another movie, and I'm going to have him tell you all about it.
Woody Guthrie leaves his home in Texas and travels west to California during the Great Depression, searching for work so he can bring his family there for a better life in Bound for Glory.
In that new department store down in Amarillo. Hell, Pa, there ain't gonna be a she salesman. Well, there might be something else.
That's too damn far out there anyhow.
You tell her that when she's begging for milk in the morning. You tell her it's too far to travel.
All right, it's 62 miles.
Well, maybe you could sing one of your songs to her or tell her fortune instead.
Mary, just don't start in on me, okay?
Now, it don't do no good to be carrying on. Times and the weather are bad enough. It just don't do no good.
I don't mean to be starting in. I don't mean to always be at you, Woody. But it just don't seem fair. Even your brother's been out looking for something, and he's just a boy.
So Bound for Glory was directed by Hal Ashby. Hal Ashby started his career as a film editor and actually won at least one Oscar for editing. Then he transitioned into directing. In addition to directing Bound for Glory, he directed seminal 70s films Harold and Maude, The Last Detail, Shampoo, and Coming Home with Jane Fonda and John Voight. Bound for Glory, that is written by Robert Getchell. Robert Getchell wrote screenplays such as Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore and a movie we've talked about before, Mommy Dearest.
Yep.
The screenplay is based on the book that was written by Woody Guthrie, also called Bound for Glory. The book was written or published in 1943. From what I haven't read it, from what I understand, it's an autobiography, but it's partly fictionalized.
Yeah.
It's not all true to life. He embellished a bit here and there for dramatic effect. Bound for Glory stars John Carradine, who we saw in Grapes of Wrath, stars his son. Stars his son David Carradine, who fresh off of playing Kane in Kung Fu. David Carradine stars as Woody Guthrie. Melinda Dillon plays his wife Mary in an extremely bizarre casting. She also plays a singer named Memphis Sue. They just slapped a black wig on her. It's weird.
It worked for me. I didn't notice it was the same person until I read the
same person. So I'm going to bring the room down here and say we talked about Melinda Dillon when we did both A Christmas Story back in December and when we did Fist in January. And because we filmed these episodes several weeks before they actually are on YouTube, when we talked about Fist, because she plays Sylvester Stallone's wife in Fist, Melinda Dillon was still alive, but unfortunately she passed away in January, like pretty much a few days after we filmed the Fist episode. Yeah. I hope we didn't have something that we didn't. The universe didn't do something because of what we do. No, but yeah. So that's a shame because again, she had been retired for quite a while, over a decade now, and she was in her sometime in her 80s. Again, not that she deserved to go or anything like that, but it's a shame. So all right, enough of bringing the room down. Ronnie Cox plays Ozark Buell. Ronnie Cox, of course, was in RoboCop, one of my favorites. And also before this, he was in Deliverance, where he also gets the chance to strum a little guitar. Gail Strickland plays Pauline. Randy Quaid plays Luther Johnson. And look for small roles for Mary Kay Place, for Emmett Walsh. Emmett Walsh is in one scene where he's like driving a car that Woody Guthrie's a hitchhiker in, and they kick him out of the car really quick. Brian James is in it, and James Hong is in it as the owner of a cafe. He feeds David Carradine's character some chili.
Oh, is it chili?
It's a bowl of chili. And interestingly enough, of course, Brian James and James Hong, a few years after this, would both be in Blade Runner together. So fun stuff. All right, so Bound for Glory, just like Grapes of Wrath, I've never read Woody Guthrie's book.
Yep.
However, just like Grapes of Wrath, I have seen Bound for Glory one other time. a few years back. Not quite 20 years ago, probably more like 10 years ago, I saw Bound for Glory. But this is a movie that you've never seen.
Never heard of, never seen.
Never heard of, never seen. You know who Woody Guthrie is? Maybe?
No,
Maybe?
I don't. I'm not really that familiar with Woody Guthrie.
Not a big folk song.
Did he
folk
write
singer
"This
guy?
Land Is Your Land"?
Yeah. He
Okay.
did. That's like his signature. I mean, he has plenty of other songs, but that's like.
Yeah.
In fact, he has a song called Tom Joad, which
Okay.
they do sing. I think over the closing credits of this film or something like that. But
Okay, because I was like, they're really milking this song, but that makes more sense. That
yes, that is his. That's his. Again, he has a lot of don't kill me, Woody Guthrie fans. He has a lot of famous songs, but I would argue that's his most famous song.
Okay,
This
okay,
thing. I think everybody
fair enough.
knows "This Land Is Your Land."
They do, but they might not know it's written by him.
Yeah.
Like
And then Woody Guthrie, he has a famous son, Arlo Guthrie, who wrote Alice's Restaurant, if you know that song. You can get anything you want
Yeah.
at Alice's Restaurant.
Isn't that like a Thanksgiving song?
Yeah, I think it takes place
Yeah.
around Thanksgiving, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was also made into a movie, like the whole kind of song was, because the song's like 20 minutes long, and it was made into a movie, which stars Arlo Guthrie.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
Wow.
Interesting stuff. All right, so Bound for Glory. You didn't know anything about it going into it.
Did not.
But you knew coming off of a Dust Bowl movie, we were watching another Dust Bowl
did.
movie. So was it too dusty for you? Was it dusty or less dusty than Grapes of Wrath? Or did it make you dusty?
It did not.
Get a little
It did not
dusty?
make me dusty at all.
Okay, what'd you think?
I thought it was okay. Usually with these like kind of, I was pretty early on. I realized, well, this was going to be like a musical documentary, or not documentary, but this is going to be a musical biography. I think it's going to be less about what's going on, more about Woody Guthrie, and I think that's true to an extent. For me, it's hard because the beginning parts of the movie, like when he's, sign painting, when he's with his wife before he just like leaves a note and just leaves.
Just takes off. Right?
Takes off.
He got to go find work.
Or gets
even
on the
if it's
train.
in California.
All the stuff before California just wasn't as interesting. Like I kept on waiting for something to happen or something interesting to happen. It's just, it was place setting. It was setting up the story, setting him up. But it just wasn't as interesting as the latter half of the movie of when we were, actually in California, when he's working in these migrant camps and, picks up the guitar and joins, Ozark Blue and then gets a radio show and all that kind of stuff. So for me, that stuff is more interesting. And I probably would have preferred, honestly, not having the first part of the movie at all. Because it didn't really do much to me other than it kind of made me not like the character that much, just because like I felt like he didn't even give his wife, like he's kind of aimless again, like Tom Joad, and kind of wants to be a musician or kind of wants to follow his passions, but doesn't really want to make money or make any kind of income or try to find a job where he could, and I probably was hard at that time to do that. But she's like sign painting and he's like trying to, and then he follows his own artistic thing to do the store sign, and the guy didn't like it, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of, all that stuff just made me not really care for him as a character. Like it just kind of turned me off of him. I'm just like, I really can't stand this guy. And then when we get to, later on, I was a little bit warmed up to him, but he does seem very kind of self-righteous and self-centered. And it's a hard character to want to root for, to do good things and stuff like that. So for me, I guess this movie is more of a mixed bag. I really started liking it or started finding more that I liked about it towards the end, when we're in California and we're actually seeing his music career take off and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, it kind of left me a little cold too. I think I'm still grappling with how I feel for Bound for Glory, in case you can't tell, and all that kind of stuff. So while I still suss through all that kind of stuff, I'm going to toss it over to you. So you said you've seen Bound for Glory once before.
Yeah.
Is this another movie like Grapes of Wrath that you adored when you saw it the one time, or do you remember how you felt?
Yes, I loved it when I saw it. I think I like this movie better than Grapes of Wrath.
Okay.
And I still do. I really like Grapes of Wrath, but I think I like this movie more.
Okay.
Because I agree with you. He's a stubborn guy. Like he's
Yeah.
a stubborn character. And at the beginning of the film, his wife is like they're sitting there at the dinner table because they've all got to live with like his brother and dad, just like the Joes. They all
Yeah.
kind of live together because they can't afford not to, right? And his wife, Melinda Dillon's character, is like, "Why don't you do the sign painting?" He's like, "Don't start in on me" or whatever.
Yeah.
He gets angry because he has a talent for it, but that's just not what he wants to do. He just, he doesn't have fun doing it. He'd rather, walk around, strum his
Yeah.
guitar a little bit and whatever. And at one point, he's playing like a fiddle in the square dance band and stuff. So he obviously has musical talent. He plays the piano as well. He obviously has musical talent, and he kind of, likes that, but he has no real intentions of making that his job. He
Yeah.
just doesn't know what he wants to do. And she's like, "Well, go try this, go try that." And he, "Oh, shut up, don't lay into me," that sort of thing. So then, the one guy comes to town and he's like, "Well, you make a good fortune teller." So he's like, "Oh, well, I could be like a fortune teller." And he goes and helps the lady who like can't drink water. And
Does he
and
actually help her?
Well, she at least
Yeah.
drinks some water, right? And so, he's like, "Oh, well, I can talk to people. I got a gift. I got that sort of thing." So he's definitely, kind of a loser, basically. And because it's in the 1930s and the Great Depression is going on, and they're right in the path of the Dust Bowl, or living in the Dust Bowl sort of area. They've got these huge, gigantic, and I know that's like special effects, with the Dust Bowl, with all the cloud of dust coming in.
I thought it looked good though.
It did. It looked great, but I thought, is that a little bit embellished? Is that a little bit fake? I looked at a photo that is dead on.
Oh,
They
really?
looked like that. Yes, there's a photo. I mean,
I'll have to look
there's
at it.
plenty of photos, but I saw a photo. I was looking when I was reading about the movie and whatnot. I saw a photo. Huge, giant cloud of
Oh, that's
dust
crazy.
approaching a town. Just it looks exactly like it does in the movie. So I was like, well, that's pretty darn accurate. So
That's
I thought that
pretty
was really
terrifying.
Oh God, yeah. I would be freaking out. But yeah, so eventually he does leave. I find actually, I think I'm a little bit reversed. I find the beginning part of the film and the whole time where he's moving, where he's traveling, I find all that really, really interesting. It's when he finally does kind of get settled down in California and starts to kind of make a name for himself that I think the movie slows down a little bit.
Yeah.
For me, anyways. I mean, I still enjoy the movie a great deal, but I like that first part where he's still, going on the trains and stuff. And Lyle, they get on the train.
I
and
like the guy's like, "I'm gonna fight you," or there's
Yeah,
gonna be a fight break
there's
out.
gonna be a fight.
He's like, "I'm gonna fight you," or something. He says something like that. "I'm gonna hit you."
Yeah. And then, so
He's
the
like,
big
"Oh."
fight breaks out, and then he and the other guy, they climb up on top of the train,
Yeah,
and
they're
they
just
come into
chilling.
like a town where they force them to pay whatever money they have for a ticket. Otherwise, they threaten to throw them in jail and all this kind of stuff. I think all that's really fun. And then, of course, he hooks up with Randy Quaid and Randy Quaid's wife at one point and goes to the camp. But just like in Grace of Wrath, he also undergoes a transformation because he starts off, as you said, like Tom Joad, this aimless kind of guy.
Yeah.
And eventually Ozark Buell kind of helps to show him the way of the union and the way of unionizing. All these workers are going to get together and they're going to demand higher wages and they're going to demand, insurance or whatever their demands are. And just like in at least Fist and Hoffa, I don't
Yeah.
think we saw as much. No, we saw some of it in Grace of Wrath. They definitely get violence directed towards them.
Yeah, it
You know,
definitely
they
remind me a lot of
beat
what we
them.
saw in Fist and Hoffa.
Yeah,
And I also liked when they're at the union meeting and he starts playing the song to get everyone
yeah, they're all
rolling together and stuff like that. I thought that was good.
yeah.
But yeah, this one felt more in line with like Fist and Hoffa. Yeah, for sure.
For sure, and also because they both have Melinda Dillon in them,
Yeah.
it was interesting that way. But no, I mean, I like the kind of transformation that he goes through once again, and eventually, he's like he refuses to compromise again. He shows his stubbornness, but when he's on the radio, they're like, "You have sponsors; they don't want you singing these songs
Yeah.
about pea pickers and whatnot. You can't do that." And he's like, "I'm not going to give you this list of songs that I'm going to sing beforehand." And Ozark Buell, who's the one that brought him into that, is like, no, I know where to draw the line.
Yeah.
I know when to talk about the union. I know when to not to talk about the union. But Woody Guthrie's like, I'm not going to make that distinction.
Yeah.
It all bleeds together, and I can't really be myself if you're going to tell me I can't tell the workers what they want on the radio, but I can go out into the fields and tell them it's just not real. So he ends up leaving California, and that's what I find really interesting. But I think the book may be similar.
He's like, I'm gonna go to New York, I think.
And it ends. And it's like in New York when he got really famous. So the movie doesn't even touch on that. I mean, it's like it stops right when he's starting to get going, which I find interesting, but I don't find it frustrating. Because I just feel like it's a good way to stop the movie, I feel like. And then you get plenty of "This Land Is Your Land" over the closing credits while he's riding the train.
You get it while he's riding the train. You get it a few times in the movie for sure.
You do.
And then, again, if you're like me and didn't know that he wrote the song, you're like, why do they keep on playing that song?
Well, like in Grapes of Wrath, they played that Red River Valley song a lot. You're like, why the hell are they playing this? But just like Grapes of Wrath, the cinematography for this movie is beautiful. I think the cinematography for this movie is great. This was done by Haskell Wexler. So I'm a real big fan of the cinematography. I really like the movie a lot overall. Like I say, I think I like it more than The Grapes of Wrath, although I think they're both great films. I think that casting of Melinda Dillon as both his wife and as Memphis Sue is such a weird thing.
Well, I mean, I read in the trivia that they liked her so much and they were sad that she was gone for a bulk of the movie that they gave her a small part to have a role.
I guess that so, and it's like they slapped a black-haired wig on her.
Again, to me, I didn't notice the difference.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did.
I just can't. I have a hard time.
I was like, his wife's already in California, but she had black hair. I was like, that's not his wife.
I have a hard time with older movies, like distinguishing the actors for some reason.
You have face blindness?
I do have face blindness. And then she shows up at the end, like
and once she shows up,
he's bedded how many women on the way over there?
Oh yeah, he's definitely unfaithful. Yeah. He's like Deborah Carr.
I just found him. I don't like Woody Guthrie, and I don't like the character. I mean, I don't know. I don't find anything redeeming about him.
Yeah,
this movie doesn't do anything to him. To endear me to him at all.
He's a restless guy, so I guess that's sort of his behavior.
Yeah.
He can't keep it in his pants. But it's weird because Melinda Dillon is his wife. He leaves for California, and then he meets Memphis Sue and sings with her on the radio, and it's Melinda Dillon again. And then he sends for his wife from Texas, and then Memphis Sue's out of the picture because they didn't have them both. You know, they didn't do like a Parent Trap kind of thing, or Parent Trap, where they have like, hey, you look like me. Yeah. Because I think if they would have made that part of the plot, like he is attracted to this woman singer. Not that he's attracted to Memphis Sue in the movie. They don't have a romantic relationship. But if he is attracted to Memphis Sue because she resembles his wife, and it fits more into the plot. But to me, it just seems random.
I think it was random.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we don't like that Melinda Dillon's not in the rest of the movie, so we're gonna put her more in the movie just with a wig. They should have put a mustache on her.
Yeah,
that's what they should have done.
Worked.
It's weird. I don't know. All right, so
this one did it get nominated or get any awards?
It did get nominated.
Because you were talking, you really like the cinematography.
Yes, so it got nominated for Best Costume Design, but Fellini's movie Casanova won for costume design. It was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, but All the President's Men won. And it was nominated for Best Editing and Best Picture, but it got KO'd by Rocky that year. However, it did win. So it won Best Original Song Score, but that year, and I guess prior to that, they had Best Original Score and Best Original Song Score and its adaptation. And that's the award that this won. So it wasn't strictly Best Original Score. Now they've like consolidated those awards, but back then they had like two different ones. So It won Best Original Song Score and its adaptation or something like that. Some wordy ass award.
Yeah.
And it did win Best Cinematography for Haskell Wexler.
Awesome.
So way to go, Haskell. And it's 83% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 76% audience. Roger Ebert gave this one 4 stars, and Leonard Maltin gives this one 3.5.
All right.
Just below Grapes of Wrath.
All right. Well, that's Bound for Glory. On Wednesday episodes, which is this one, we like to answer a viewer question. So we picked one out. We're talking about a movie starring David Carradine, who has had a lot of credits in his life.
Yes.
So we decided to talk about and pick some of our favorite David Carradine movies and roles and stuff like that. I will say I don't think I've seen a whole lot of David Carradine movies. I'm not as up to date with his filmography or at all. What about yourself?
Yeah, he's got a couple hundred or something
Yeah, yeah.
credits on IMDb, and looking through there, there is a ton of stuff I've not
Yeah.
seen. I mean, I've seen a few here and there, like Death Sport, and some I don't know, some
Yeah.
Roger Corman type stuff. I think Dune Warriors is another one I saw, but he's done a lot of kind of direct to video stuff. I think
Yeah.
that just missed me completely.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
yeah, no, I also, when I was looking through his filmography, I was like, I
Oh,
hadn't seen that, hadn't seen that, hadn't seen that, hadn't seen that. So yeah, I'm pretty short on David Carradine movies.
Me too. All right. Do you have any call outs or anything like that?
Well, I think if I had to pick my favorite David Carradine movie, it's probably Bound for Glory.
Okay.
But I'm not going to pick that one, just since we just talked about it. I don't really have a call out. Well, I guess
Did you ever see Kung Fu? The Legend Continues?
no.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I've ever watched the TV show he was on. Maybe
Okay.
maybe an episode here or there I saw on syndication.
I've never
or
seen a
something.
TV show, so yeah, I just was asking.
I mean, obviously, you got to call out the Kill Bill movies, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm going to pick a movie, I'm not going to go with the Kill Bill movies. I'm going to go with an early 80s horror film, I think directed by Larry Clark. I hope that's right. I'm too lazy to grab my phone and pick it up. It's called Q, the Winged Serpent. And the Q stands for Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl, however you say it.
Oh, I've seen that movie title. I did not know.
With the it's got a big serpent, yes, and his nest is in the Chrysler Building in New York. Is it Larry Clark?
Larry Cohen.
Larry Cohen.
Writer, director.
I knew it started with a C. Larry Cohen, yeah. So Q, the Winged Serpent. It's a cheesy early 80s movie about a giant winged serpent who's nests in the Chrysler Building.
I want to see it.
You got to see it.
I've never seen it, but it sounds awesome.
You got to check it. It is awesome. You got to check it out. So that's going to be my David Carradine pick.
Well, you mentioned the one I wanted to talk about, and that's going to be the Kill Bills. I understand not wanting to mention it because it's kind of the 600-pound gorilla, but I think that's the role I know him the most for, and I think it probably was my introduction to him. And obviously I heard of like Kung Fu the series and stuff like that, but I never watched any of it. So
yeah,
that was my introduction to him and all that kind of stuff. And I thought he does a pretty good job in that Quentin Tarantino movie. And
he does.
I liked how those movies were, his love letter, Quentin Tarantino's love letter to Kung Fu and samurai movies and all that kind of stuff. So
Hattori Hanzo.
Love the Hattori Hanzo scenes. Those are my favorite. So that for me, it's going to be Kill Bill.
Nice. Good, yeah, good stuff.
All right. Well, is that anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, let us know what your favorite David Carradine roles are. Leave it down below. If you can spell Quetzalcoatl without looking it up, write it down below. No cheating. Let us know. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that social media stuff. We really do appreciate it. And stay tuned next week to watch the movies from this guy's list of shame. We'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.